21 is out on the Speedway. The 69 is there as well. So some miscommunication as we are green off at turn number 4, and it's a big start from Coleman Browning. He's got several car lengths into turn number 1. Browning works the top side of the racetrack. Clint Baker in second. Randy Ainsworth slots into third. As the field strings out a little bit, starting to get into his contact between Todd Luke and Chris DeShong. Both key cars are kept straight as Coleman Browning, he leads into turn number 1. Clint Baker going to the cushion. Sturgis Streeter working the bottom. Randy Ainsworth up top, but moves Sturgis Streeter into that third position off of turn number 2. Sturgis Streeter's got the bottom working. As off of 2, it's still the 83 of Coleman Browning, your leader, 2 laps in, 13 to go. As Chris DeShong will call it a race, he'll pull that car to the infield. Tough break for the 41. As the 83 of Coleman Browning still leads. The 17 of Clint Baker works up top. Sturgis Streeter, he's rolling the bottom. He's in third. Ainsworth fourth. Chase Galvin, he's looking to the inside of the 91 of Eddie Schwolp for that 5th position. As Coleman Browning still leads. We're 3 wide further back in the pack. Daniel Harris making some moves in that 07. He's working through the field as he's got a long way to go from where he started this race. But Coleman Browning, we're now 4 in and just 11 to go. Give the 07 of Daniel Harris another position. And he's now worked his way inside the top 10. Harris will work the bottom as we still got a mess of cars back there for about 8th, 9th, and 10th. As off of 4, Coleman Browning still leads by about 4 car lengths over Clint Baker. As now Ramon Ortega goes around, he'll collect the 15XL of Jared Hilliard. As everyone else able to avoid the 2 spun cars, but that's not a caution Coleman Browning wanted to see, as that'll bring the field all to his back bumper. Race, he'll work into turn number 3. He'll wait, he'll start it in the middle of 3 and 4. And the field a little bit scattered on this restart. Sturgis Streeter, he gets a good one. He'll move in a second. He'll drive straight to the bottom of the racetrack as Sturgis Streeter, the man on the move on this one. He's now to the inside of the 83 of Browning. Browning gets the drive off the corner, but Sturgis Streeter, he now runs second. He works to the inside of Browning. Browning's going to have to work the bottom or work the top. He's got company from both him and Clint Baker, but he hangs on to the lead. That's Coleman Browning up front, as now we've got caution on the racetrack. Back there in the back of the field, it's the 62 of Corey Cooper and the 3D of Jonathan Barnett. Where he wants to restart this race, he'll choose in the middle of 3 and 4. Sturgis Streeter, he's going to get a good jump as well. He'll work to the inside. Chase Galvin, he's got a good restart. He's looking for 3rd into turn number 1. He'll slide into no man's land in the middle, as now Sturgis Streeter, he gets the run off of turn number 2. 3D of Jonathan Barnett, he moves to the infield as we're 3 wide for the lead. Clint Baker on the top. Coleman Browning in the middle, and Sturgis Streeter off of turn number 4. You've got a new leader in the USRIB Modifieds, and it's that 34S. Clint Baker takes second. Coleman Browning, he's going to swap positions as now Chase Galvin. Move him into 3rd off of turn number 2. Here comes the 0 machine. He's now working to the 83 of Coleman Browning. His outside is Clint Baker up and over the berm in turn number 4, and he's going to hit the wall over there. He keeps that car fired. We're going to stay green as Chase Galvin is going to work, as Colton looks as though the 15XL Jared Hilliard will call it tonight, as Chase Galvin, he takes second off of turn number 2. He's going to work to the top side of the racetrack, as now it's the 0 of Chase Galvin in second. Sturgis Streeter's your leader, 9 and 6 to go. Daniel Harris all the way up into 4th now. He's working the top side of the racetrack. Chase Galvin, he's to the back bumper of Sturgis Streeter. He's going to give him a bump into turn number 3. He'll go to the cushion. He will bounce it off the top side, but your leader at the line, still the 34S of Sturgis Streeter. Daniel Harris, give him 3rd at the line. He is on a charge. Started 16th. He's working the top side as here comes Chase Galvin. He's to the outside now. Sturgis Streeter on the inside as Clint Baker will over the berm in the middle of 1 and 2, and that's what Sturgis Streeter wanted to see, is he'll hang on to the lead. But any sort of notion, this is going to be a good one to wrap up your B modified feature. Sturgis Streeter, he gets a great restart. He'll get a couple car lengths, as now Daniel Harris, he looked to the inside of Galvin, but he wanted to go right back to the top side. Now Sturgis Streeter knows that's where the speed is. He goes to the top side. That catches Galvin off guard. He'll get a couple car lengths into turn 3. Sturgis Streeter, not quite all the way up against the cushion, but he'll get there now. Daniel Harris rolls the bottom. He gets the drive off. Give him second as he makes contact with Streeter down the front straightaway. but Daniel Harris has got that car on a rail. Now he gets a little bit loose and makes big contact with the 83 of Coleman Browning. Browning's going to be broke down the back straightaway, and the big run for Daniel Harris is going to be for naught as Coleman Browning will call it a night. As up front, Chase Galvin, he worked around the 34 of Sturgis Streeter. You've got a new leader, and that's the 0 of Chase Galvin. Galvin works the top side. He's now driving away from Streeter as Daniel Harris stops over there, and we're going to have a parking lot in the middle of 1 and 2 as Daniel Harris, Austin Charles, Ramon Ortega, and Colton Leal all involved over there in turn number 2. 914, I'll call that out again. We have another break in the action in case you didn't hear us. We're getting ready to go back to racing. B modifieds are green, and it's Chase Galvin that's going to drive away from your field into turn number 1. He'll protect on the bottom of the racetrack as the rest of the field works into turn number 1. Ramon Ortega and Casey Burnett make a little bit of contact back there for that 3rd position, as Chase Galvin will work the top side. He's got this one in hand as all of his competitors were involved in that one, so he's got 2 to go. He just got to keep that car straight as we've got one around. That's the 62 of Corey Cooper, and that'll bring out another caution here at I-35 Speedway. And Chase Galvin, your leader. We're green-white checkered, and Galvin leads the field back to green. We're going to try to wrap this USRAB modified feature up. Galvin leads into turn number 1. He'll protect on the bottom. He'll keep it down there on the bottom as Casey Burnett works to the outside of Ramon Ortega off of turn number 2. So move that 23 car into 3rd down the back straightaway. As off of turn number 4, the white flag will go skyward. Chase Galvin, he's got one more trip around I-35 Speedway. As Galvin works the top side, he's going to run away with it. Casey Burnett, he's going to work the top side as well. He's going to get to the outside of Colton Leal down the back straightaway. So move that 23 up to 3rd, but off of turn 4, your USRIP modified feature winner tonight's the 0 of Chase Galvin. 2nd will be the 18 of Colton Leal. 3rd, the 23 of Casey Burnett. 4th will be the 17 of Ramon Ortega, and rounding out the top 5 is the 34 of Sturgis Streeter. It's Tim Shields and Brad Whitney, your front row. They'll roll into turn number 4. Kevin Anderson, issues already. He's going to call it a night, pull that car to the infield, and we're green off at turn number 4. Brad Whitney, he'll get the jump on Tim Shields. They'll battle into turn number 1. Shields on the bottom, Whitney up top. And it's going to be Tim Shields with a big drive off the corner. We're going to think about 4 wide. That one somehow worked into turn number 3. We're still thinking about 4 wide through the middle of 3. It'll settle for 2x2 off of turn 2. And the big one, the big mover out of that one's the 1 of Austin O'Neill. He's already up to the 2nd position after starting 5th. Tim Shields, your leader, lap number 1. Austin O'Neill working the bottom. Brad Whitney up top. Billy Hoover now working the inside. He'll look to take 3rd into turn 3. Hoover on the inside, Whitney up top, Jeff Dixon up there as well as off of 4, lap 2, still Tim Shields, Austin O'Neill, and now Billy Hoover. He sits 3rd. Brad Whitney in 4th, and Jeff Dixon, he's going to go right back to the cushion. He'll try to now work around Brad Whitney in that 6th car, but Butch Bailey's going to get a drive off of turn 2. He works to the inside as Brad Whitney, he says, I want to get to the inside now, and he's going to over-rotate that car. Butch Bailey, he'll sneak to the inside, Whitney all over the place, and he's going to slide towards the back of the field. Austin O'Neill, he's now working the bottom of the racetrack. Tim Shields up top. Austin O'Neill's going to get a drive. He's to the inside quarter panel of Shields. Shields, he's going to drop down. He's going to throw the big block into turn number 3. Keep Shields out front. Billy Hoover now rolling the top side. As lap number 4, it's still Tim Shields, Austin O'Neill, and Billy Hoover. Austin O'Neill back to the bottom of the racetrack. Tim Shields working the cushion. Again, the drive will be for Austin O'Neill. They're going to be door-to-door down the back straightaway. O'Neill far enough up to the side of Shields. Shields unable to throw a block, and this time off of turn number 4, you've got a new leader. It's the 1 of Austin O'Neill. O'Neill noses ahead into turn number 1. Shields still working the top side. O'Neill working the bottom. Most of your field up top, but it's O'Neill that's going to work the bottom. He's not able to clear Shields into 3. Shields battles back on the top side. Hoover there as well. He'll slide all the way to the cushion, and this time off of 4. Austin O'Neill tries to clear him, cannot. Shields hanging on to the outside quarter panel of Austin O'Neill. That bottom might be going away, but just as I say that, O'Neill with a big drive as he'll take the lead as the 6K of Brad Whitney. He's around, he keeps it fired as we're still battling for the lead up front. Austin O'Neill, this time off of 4. He clears for the lead, 7 laps in this one. Tim Shields still up top, hasn't quite gone away yet. Austin O'Neill, he's going to stay glued to the bottom line. Shields back to his outside into 3. Austin O'Neill, he gets the drive off of 4 as Tim Shields tries to get that momentum working, but Austin O'Neill leads by a half car length into turn number 1. It's O'Neill, Shields, Hoover, and Dixon, your top 4. As this time, Shields slips a little bit, and Austin O'Neill gets some daylight into turn number 3. Billy Hoover is going to try to make a move now. As he's going to over-rotate that car, he'll hang on to it, and he will power up through the infield. He'll hang on to 3rd, so a good save by the 63 of Billy Hoover. Hoover will have to regroup as now Jeff Dixon will peek to the inside. Nothing happening there as Austin O'Neill, the only one really working the bottom of the racetrack, and he's made it work all night, and that's where he's wanted to be. We've got 2 to go for the 1 of Austin O'Neill. O'Neill, he works the bottom. Tim Shields works the top. Billy Hoover in the middle. Jeff Dixon, he's on the bottom now. As through 3 and 4 off of turn number 4, the white flag will be pointed skyward for the 1 of Austin O'Neill. A patient race from the young Kearney native. He'll work into turn number 1 for the final time. He'll solidly work through turn number 2. Tim Shields, he's still going to have to deal with Billy Hoover and Jeff Dixon. But this race has been all about the 1 of Austin O'Neill. Started in the 5th position, methodically worked his way to the point, and your USRA Stock Car feature winner tonight's the 1 of Austin O'Neill. Second will be Tim Shields in the 42T. Billy Hoover in the 63 car will finish 3rd, followed by Jeff Dixon in the 88, and Butch Bailey in the 111. Race fans, let's give a big round of applause to the young gun in that 1 car, picking up your USRA Stock Car feature win tonight's the 1 of Austin O'Neill. In row 2, they'll roll into turn 4, and we are green off of turn number 4. We are modified future racing at I-35 Speedway. Darren Fuqua will jump out to the early lead, and if this season means anything, it means that this race might be over before it started. As Fuqua leads, Schaffman, he's going to look for 2nd on into turn 3. Johnson on the top side, Schaffman works the bottom. Darren Shaw, he's working the middle of the racetrack as well as Fuqua, already jumped out to a big lead. Schaffman moves into 2nd, Johnson back to 3rd, Shaw 4th, Schultz in 5th, Lancetown 6th, John Hansen 7th, as Houston Johnson with the big run into the back bumper of the 34 of Schaffman, as here comes Terry Schultz. He works the bottom of the racetrack. He's to the inside of the 11 of Darren Shaw. Give him 4th. He's going to look for 3rd off of turn number 4. Schultz will move into that 3rd position. He's now working on the 34 of Schaffman. While they battle, Darren Fuqua said, I'm gone. I'm going to go ahead and take about a straightaway in 2 laps. Fuqua right up next to the cushion. A precursor for what we may see in a week and a half time at the USRA Nationals is now Terry Schultz. He's to the inside of the 34 of Schaffman. He's into turn number 1. We got a mess of cars back there for really 2nd on back as Darren Fuqua drives away. Schaffman hangs on to it. Schultz in that 3rd position. Johnson 4th. Town 5th. As he is able to work to the outside of Darren Shaw. Shaw back to 6th. As the 89 of Tyler Hibner, the 99 of Lee Hibner, the 1T of Matt Johnson, they're all back there battling for that 7th position. Throw John Hansen in there. Dennis Elliott, he's not moving through the field as quickly as some might have projected. As the 98 of Austin Johnson, he's over the berm. He'll get it, keep it fired, and we are going to stay green out on the racetrack. Darren Fuqua, he's still your leader. Mark Schaffman holds 2nd. Terry Schultz working the bottom in 3rd. As now here comes Austin Johnson back to the outside. As the 98 of Austin Johnson, he'll call it a heat race, or he'll call it a feature. As now Cole Moore in the 33C. He's gone over the berm, and that'll bring out the caution here at I-35 Speedway. So again, he'll start it over there in turn number 3, and we're back to USRA Modified Racing at I-35 Speedway. As Fuqua jumps to the big lead, it's Mark Schaffman that'll move to 2nd. Terry Schultz will drive to the bottom of the racetrack. Schaffman goes to the top. They switch lanes. We're 3 wide off of turn 2. Darren Shaw's the big loser in that one. As Lancetown and Matt Johnson make contact, Lancetown has to back out of that one. He's now going to go backwards. He's going to go from 5th back to 7th. He's going to give a door to the 11 of Darren Shaw. Shaw now in trouble as Dennis Elliott's to the inside of Lancetown. And while all this goes on, Darren Fuqua, he's going to set sail yet again. Fuqua's car is on a rail the same way it's been all season. That MB Customs 87 car out front. Mark Schaffman sits 2nd. Terry Schultz third, Houston Johnson fourth, and now it's Tyler Hibner that's worked his way into the top 5. Matt Johnson in that one car. He's now looking for that position off of turn number 2. Johnson on the inside. Hibner's going to work the top side of the racetrack. Matt Johnson gets that car pointed off the corners. Now Houston Johnson, he's over the berm, and he's going to drop several positions. The 5 of Kevin McGinnis is over the berm back there, further back of the pack. We stay green out on the racetrack. Lance Town, he throws a big slider in front of Houston Johnson. Johnson pulls the crossover. That's back there for about that 7th position. As this time at the line, Darren Fuqua is going to see halfway about a straightaway before anyone else does. Fuqua driving away up front. Schaffman now settles into second as Tyler Hibner. He'll work around the top side of Terry Schultz. Move Hibner into that 3rd position. Schultz in 4th. Matt Johnson in 5th in that 1T. Dennis Elliott, he's worked up to 6th. Lance Town back in 7th. The battle's for 8th between Lee Hibner and Houston Johnson. Again, it's Fuqua, Schaffman, Hibner, Schultz, Johnson, your top 5. Elliott, Town, Houston Johnson, Lee Hibner, and Darren Shaw, your top 10. Shaw's recovered from a couple bad laps there earlier. 12 laps in, 8 to go, as now Darren Fuqua will have to deal with lap traffic. As Kevin McGinnis and Tony Manley, they are side by side as we enter turn 3. Fuqua is going to look to go to the middle between them. He'll get to the outside. He'll work around both of them. He's going to get sandwiched. He'll have to get on the binders there. Fuqua trying to find a way through. This time, we'll throw the big slider into turn number 1. Your leaders through the first parts of lap traffic. He's so far ahead, that didn't matter, as now Tyler Hibner's got that car working. He's to the back bumper of Mark Schaffman. David Coates in the 31. He calls it a feature. As Tyler Hibner, he'll work to the outside. Mark Schaffman still runs 2nd. Hibner in 3rd as Terry Schultz has moved that car to the top side of the racetrack. Matt Johnson still runs in the 5th position. Dennis Elliott still 6th. Everyone's starting to settle in a little bit. As Houston Johnson looks for a run for the 21, as we've got a one around in front of the field. It's the lap car, the 4 of Tony Manley. That'll throw the 2nd caution of this feature. We're 15 in, 5 to go. And again, Matt Johnson started in the 11th position. He's up to 5th. Tyler Hibner started 10th. He's up to 3rd, but nothing's going to challenge Fuqua on this restart. Another big restart from him will take several car lengths into turn number 1. He'll open it up to about 5 off of turn number 2 as Lance Town and Dennis Elliott battle back there for that 6th position. Move Elliott around Town as Elliott now takes 6th away from the 21 of Lance Town. Darren Fuqua will lead lap 1 of the restart, lap 16 of the race. Schaffman, he's solidly settled into 2nd as Terry Schultz. He's got a battle for 3rd as Shane Lawson, all out of shape down the front straightaway. He hangs onto it somehow, saves that race car John Hansen on the binders to avoid. We stay green on the racetrack. This time by 3 to go for Darren Fuqua. Already opened up a half straightaway lead over Schaffman. Hibner still 2nd, Schultz still 4th. Hibner still 3rd, Schultz 4th. Johnson 5th. Dennis Elliott trying to find a way into the top 5 as here comes Lance Town. He's going to work the top side as Elliott shuts the door for that 6th position. As this time by 2 to go for Darren Fuqua. Fuqua's got this one on lock. He's had a dominant car all night. He's left no questions and now has put fear into everyone as we head just a couple weeks from the USRA Nationals. Darren Fuqua, your national points leader. He's got the white flag in the air. Shane Lawson, he's off track over there in turn number 2. We're going to stay green as of now. Darren Fuqua down the back straightaway. He'll look into turn number 3. Shane Lawson's got his hood up. Don't know if he could see out there on the racetrack. As off of 4, your national points leader puts a stamp on a season. At 17 wins for him, is 2nd at I-35 this season. Your USRA Modified Feature winner is the 87 of Darren Fuqua. 2nd's the 34 of Mark Schaffman. 3rd will be the 89 of Tyler Hibner. 4th, the 90 of Terry Schultz. And running at your top 5 is the 1T of Matt Johnson. Race fans, let's give a big round of applause to your I-35 Speedway winner tonight, your national points leader in the USRA Modifieds. It's the 87 of Darren Fuqua. So it's Will Guthrie, Isaiah Penton, Rick Girard, Joseph Mick that roll into turn number 3. They'll wait till that cone on the tire in turn 4. That's where they'll start the race, and we are green. The Mike Knight Memorial is underway. On the start, we got some beating and banging further back in the field, but your battle's for the lead as now Isaiah Penton's got to park that car in turn number 2 as we will keep it green out on the Speedway. And your leader off of turn number 4 will be the 00 of Rick Girard. He's battling with the 78 of Will Guthrie. Guthrie's going to work the top. Girard will work the middle of the racetrack, as now the 7T of Toby Teal off the pace. As here comes Joseph Mick. He's giving a back bumper to the 00 of Rick Girard. The 00X of Kyler Girard's going to call it a night, as now the 00 of Rick Girard's off the pace. He'll pull that car to the infield. As your leader that time by was the 78 of Will Guthrie. Joseph Mick is now looking for the lead off of turn 2. Mick and Guthrie, they are together, and that's going to collect John Willard and David Miller, as Willard's able to run, and we're going to throw the yellow out on the racetrack. As off of turn number 4, we're back to green flag racing. It's Dakota Girard that takes the lead in at turn number 1. A little bit of smoke trailing from the back end of that race car. Shouldn't be too much of a concern for him as of yet. David Miller, he's going to look to the outside of him down the back straightaway. Alvin Cooney's there as well, as now you've got a battle for the lead. Miller on the outside, Girard on the inside. The only one of those Mustangs left out on the racetrack. Lap 1 of the restart, lap 3 of the race goes to the 0 of Dakota Girard. And David Miller now working the top side, trying to get the run working for him. And Alvin Cooney up there as well, as Stephen Bunton in that 95 is working into that 4th position. David Miller and Dakota Girard, they are door to door off of turn number 4, and it's still the 0 at the line. Dakota Girard hangs on to it, but David Miller's got the run into turn number 1. He's getting that car working up on the high side. Momentum going to that 55 as he's inching ahead down the back straightaway. David Miller still not clear of Dakota Girard quite yet. Girard works back to the inside, tries to get the drive off of turn number 4. He'll get the drive, but Miller will use that momentum. Your new leader is the 55 of David Miller III. As Alvin Cooney works off of turn number 2, he's got company now from Stephen Bunton in the 95. Your top 5 have separated themselves from the rest of the field as David Miller continues to lead. His back comes the 0 of Girard. He's got that bottom working, but David Miller, he's been working the high side, got that momentum working up. There is now Stephen Bunton. He'll move into the 3rd position. That 95 car might be the fastest on the racetrack as he's up into position number 3. This time off of 4, it's still the 55 of Miller, your leader. Dakota Girard there as well. As here comes Stephen Bunton in the 95. He gets to the outside of the 0. Move Bunton into 2nd into turn number 1. Bunton working the high side. He slips up off of turn number 2. Girard battles back on the inside, but it's going to be Stephen Bunton into turn number 3. The high side looks like it's where you want to be right now as Stephen Bunton works off of turn number 4, and he'll slide down. Throw a little bit of a block on the 0, making sure he clears him into turn number 1. So now it's David Miller, Stephen Bunton, Dakota Girard, Alvin Cooney, and Josh Conrad, your top 5. This time off of turn number 4. The 55 of David Miller still leading. Stephen Bunton 2nd. Dakota Girard 3rd. Alvin Cooney 4th. And Josh Conrad 5th. 9 and 11 to go. It's now Josh Conrad. He's making a run on Alvin Cooney in the 69 as those two drive down the back straightaway. Conrad on the inside, Cooney up on the top side of the racetrack. Cooney has slips up a little bit up there. That allows Conrad to get the jump as we've got a caution out on the racetrack. As it sounds like we've 3. He'll restart this race where he chooses to. He'll wait over to turn number 4. That is now we're back underway with the Sport Compacts. David Miller will take the field into turn number 1. Dakota Girard, he's going to stick to the bottom of the racetrack. He'll drive off of turn number 2. Josh Conrad in that 08. He'll work to the outside of Girard into turn number 3. So it's Miller, Girard, and Conrad off of turn number 4. They'll stay that way as David Miller is going to lead lap 1 of the restart, lap 10 of the race. We are halfway in the Night Memorial, 10 and 10 to go. Miller still leads. Dakota Girard is not going away quite yet. Still a little bit of smoke trailing out the back end of that race car. It looks as though that car does not quite have the top end speed down the front straightaway. And that's where the difference is for David Miller right now with 9 to go. Josh Conrad, he's faded back in that 3rd position. Jason Teal up to 4th, and Stephen Bunn, he's recovered back into the top 5, and he's bringing Alvin Cooney along with him. This time off of 4, it's still Miller, your leader. Dakota Gerard sits second. We are 12 in, 8 to go. Stephen Bunton, he'll move back around the 7 of Jason Teal, give him that 4th position. He'll slide up the racetrack. Teal will look to make a crossover move, and here comes Cooney to the inside as we'll work down the back straightaway. Alvin Cooney, he'll try to make his way back into the top 5, but that 5th position still is with the 7 of Jason Teal. Dakota Gerard still right there with your leader, the 55 of David Miller III. He's going to get a run off of turn number 2, this time down the back straightaway. That high side momentum still works for Miller. He gets about a half car length into turn number 3. Miller a little bit loose over there. Dakota Gerard keeps it right next to the bottom of the racetrack, and it's about a car length at the line. 14 in, 6 to go. Conrad still 3rd, Bunton 4th, Teal in 5th. That's the 7 of Jason Teal in 5th, Cooney in 6th, Scott Beagle in 7th, and then Toby Teal in the 8th position. Off of turn number 4, we're going to have 5 to go this time by, and this one is not done yet. David Miller and Dakota Gerard equaling lap times as that gap stays the same. Dakota Gerard is going to have to find a little something more in that 0 machine to make a run at David Miller, or hope Miller makes a mistake, one of the two. Miller works off of turn number 4. Gerard looks like he's trying to get a little bit more grip out of that race car, and he's fading a little bit. It's now to 2 car lengths, 16 in, 4 to go. Dakota Gerard drives off of turn number 2. It's still about a car length and a half into turn number 3. It looks like Gerard's better in 1 and 2. Miller better in 3 and 4. As at the line, 3 to go for David Miller III. As now Stephen Bunton has worked to the inside of the 08 of Josh Conrad, move Bunton up into that 3rd position. As now another run for Dakota Gerard, but the high side momentum and that top end speed keeps Miller out front as it'll be 2 to go. This time by for the 0 for the 55 of Dakota Gerard, and here comes the 0 of Gerard. He gets to the inside door, not enough at the line. It's still David Miller. Miller tries to shut the door, but Dakota Gerard, he's going to get another run off the corner. He's to his inside quarter panel as David Miller fades to the inside a little bit as we're going to battle off of turn number 4. It's Dakota Gerard in the 0, the 55 of David Miller at the line. We are door to door. Miller leads at the line. The white flag is out. We got one more lap around I-35 Speedway. $500 on the line for these Sport Compex drivers. A good corner for the 55 of Miller. He'll take a couple car lengths into turn number 3. Dakota Gerard tries to get to his inside as off of turn number 4. It was a big run from the 0 of Dakota Gerard, not the line. They'll make contact. They rub at the line, and it might have been the 0 of Dakota Gerard at the line. We'll have to wait for official scoring. A photo finish at the line for your Sport Compacts after 20 laps. It was a nose at the line. We're waiting for official scoring from our scores. The 0 car of Dakota Gerard is declared the winner at the line by a nose.